the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
Arnab Goswami on The Debate at 9. Presented by Amity University. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Century Ply, TVS Euro Grip and Blue Dot.
Good evening and welcome, viewers. It's great to see you. Top of the week tonight. The visuals this afternoon that froze the entire world was of desperate Afghans clinging onto the wheels of a giant American military plane as it took off from Kabul airport. Dozens of desperate, panic-stricken Afghans holding on to the wheels of the plane as it moved on the runway. And after taking off from the runway, within minutes, they start falling off the wheels. And these pictures were taken of them falling from the wheels of an airborne plane, viewers, hundreds and thousands of feet in the air. What do we say tonight? But that their last fall, recorded by fellow Afghans, and their last cries of help as they fell to their death unheard, and their mangled bodies on collision, a testament to the plight of a people betrayed by the one country that specializes in betrayal, America. The global #1 hypocrite, the master of hypocrisy, America. The USA as a country has never fallen further, but probably it will given its track record. Its selfishness, its diabolical double standards, and its weakness, exemplified in the weakness of a man like their President Joe Biden. The shallowness of a man like Blinken, who when he came to India a few weeks back wanted to sit and discuss with the pseudos here, Shaheen Bagh and CAA. And then he goes on TV in America looking like a master hypocrite and a #1 turncoat, telling the American people, look here, I can't do anything for you. Take care of yourself. And viewers, where is Kamala Harris, the wannabe president, and her contorted lies about building a world safe for women? Kamala Harris says, I've devoted my entire life for women's causes. Her entire political career is built on this lie. And now when the women of Afghanistan are left to deal with these Taliban brutes, their faces hidden for life, Kamala Harris doesn't say a word. Yes, America is the world's biggest hypocrite. But most of all tonight, and truth be told tonight, the hypocrisy of organizations like the CNN and the BBC. CNN, no embedded journalism this time, no wall-to-wall coverage. How can they? When their cowards return home. They're more, as the Americans fly out like cowards, CNN is more interested, it seems, in covering football. And as for the BBC, they specialize now in soft, very obsequious interviews with the Taliban spokesperson. They've been headlining. They specialize in taking the Taliban at face value, headlining their assurances about respecting human rights. This morally defeated global media has been so weak and submissive to the Taliban terrorists. And that is why I say tonight that as the dystopian scenes play out And we on Republic break the news minute by minute. The time to expose the Western hypocrites and the hypocritical Western media has come. They are complicit with the Taliban in their tone, their actions, their silence, and their moral ventriloquism. The world now wants to know, the world needs to know when these hypocrites will be challenged and a mirror shown to them, ladies and gentlemen, and Republic will show the mirror to them. That is debate number one tonight, viewers, debate number one this evening. Debate number one this evening is on the global hypocrites who are blacking out the reality of what's happening in Afghanistan. And at 10 p.m. tonight, viewers, I'm joined by Vivek Kachchu, and I question him on his line on why he feels we should be talking to the Taliban. Frankly, I haven't heard anything more absurd than that. And debate number three this evening. Debate number three this evening is on what these Pakistanis are getting so excited about. I think they're going to go begging to all the three factions of the Taliban very soon. And here are the headlines this Monday evening on the Debate Tonight. Scenes of utter chaos and despair from Kabul airport shocks the world as the Taliban runs amok. After the monumental Afghanistan botch-up, the weak American President Biden now says, I will address America. India sends 2 military flights to carry out evacuation at breakneck speed. Sikhs, Hindus, and Indian allies are all to be brought back. As the Taliban unleashes its expected terror on the streets of Kabul, some say talk to the terrorists. We question them tonight. China legitimizes the brutal and undemocratic Taliban regime by building a case for them on a global platform. And blind to the future, Pakistan is celebrating the Taliban resurgence. What's playing out in Afghanistan is spine-chilling. As the rule of terror is back, with the Taliban taking over in Kabul and millions of Afghans scrambling to clutch onto any part of an airplane that may fly them away from the horrors of Taliban rule, it's the global hypocrites headquartered in the West that must be exposed. The global hypocrites who lecture on human rights, who lecture on women's rights, but when it comes to Afghanistan, they cheer on the Taliban with their silent complicity. Here is what the global hypocrites want to black out. Watch this, and then tonight we debate.
They preached on tackling the Taliban.
The Taliban is not the North Vietnamese army. They're not remotely comparable in terms of capability. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan. It is not at all comparable.
They preached on women's rights.
Status of democracy also depends fundamentally on the empowerment of women, not only because the exclusion of women in decision-making is a marker of a flawed democracy.
Far away from hypocritical and opportunistic American government speeches, corpses are lying. Bodies are piling up at the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. Men are falling from the skies. In this video, 2 men held the wheels of a C-17 Globemaster belonging to America in a desperate scramble to flee Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. They fell to their death. They weren't the only ones. Watch how Afghans are desperately clutching onto the belly of this plane, hoping that the flight will be their ticket out of the terror of Taliban rule. Afghans are even scaling the Kabul airport walls, and thousands wait behind barbed wires. and hundreds breathlessly scramble to squeeze into flights to take them as far away from barbaric Taliban rule as possible. The savage Taliban, meanwhile, guns in hand, has taken over the Afghan parliament. The rule of terror has begun in Afghanistan once again. The Taliban has already stopped foreign workers from leaving the country without permission.
This morning, we made an attempt to get to the airport, and we left at 6 a.m. And within 2 blocks of our house, we were stopped by a member of the Taliban. He allowed us to proceed further towards the airport. When we got to the big intersection in Wazir Akbar Khan by the green zone, we were stopped again by about 7 or 8 members of the Taliban, and it was a more of an official checkpoint.
They've made arrests of Afghans who are trying to flee from the Kabul International Airport. But while US troops take position at Kabul airport, the failed American policy which has bolted from Afghanistan shines through. And even as evacuation missions continue and reports claim that Ghani has fled in a chopper filled with cash, the Taliban has started to mount their flags on one government building after the next. But as all of this dystopian reality of Afghanistan unfolds, the global hypocrites are evangelizing the Taliban. The same global opportunists who undertook an agenda with the cloak of human rights to target India for its protection of democracy is now lining up to sing glory to the barbaric Taliban taking over. The global hypocrites will black out these visuals. They'll rationalize the Taliban rule that is known for its Sharia law, its public flogging of women, and its sanctuary to Al-Qaeda. But not for once speak on the human rights being massacred. And tonight, it's time to expose these global hypocrites. Let's debate.
From Kansas in the USA, Army veteran Major Danny Shurzen is director of the Eisenhower Media Network. He's served multiple combat tours in Afghanistan. Dr. Sumantra Maitra, National Security Fellow at the CFTNI from Washington. Ravi Batra, eminent attorney and chair of the National Advisory Council for South Asia Affairs from New York. Douglas Bando, senior fellow at the Cato Institute. Saurabh Shukla, editor-in-chief of News Mobile. Major Gaurav Arya, consulting editor, strategic affairs, Republic Media Network. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow, ORF. Sohail Seth, managing partner, Councilage. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Major Danny, the one thing that is clear to all of us and everyone watching this from any perspective is that this is not a Taliban entering Kabul. This is not Taliban defeating the Afghan National Army. This is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris inviting, organizing Taliban rule in Kabul. It's clear to all of us. And what a fall. What a fall for America. You, having served in the American army, must feel really foolish tonight that your government has actually given a red carpet welcome to the Taliban. You've organized it. I mean, what is this? After this, America going around the world saying, we're so surprised that the Taliban came in. You're not surprised. You organized it. This was an organized takeover. It's apparent for all to see. Now, my question is, why did America do this? What do you gain? What do you gain by putting the Taliban in power in Kabul?
Well, I don't think that the United States gains a single thing from putting the Taliban in power. And I don't think that this is as simple as, you know, just one person is responsible. I mean, there are massive problems with the way that the drawdown was handled. But I think the bigger story is one of collective complicity in false promises, hypocrisy, obsession with the power and the utility of force. What I'm seeing is something that doesn't really surprise me a whole lot. The United States lacked the will, the capacity. It overpromised. It self-deluded itself for 20 years.
One second.
And,
you said will and capacity. Major Danny. Major Danny, may I intervene here? 1 second. The use of words which we object to. You say America lacked the will and the capacity. Impossible. You may lack the will. You had the capacity. What you did and the way you did it is truly, Gaurav, abominable. Let me make it clear here. We have Major Gaurav Arya here with us. I think the question is, America has brought in the Taliban. You can't blame anyone else for it. Gaurav, please, let's open the debate. Gaurav.
Arnab, I'd just like to say one thing. They abandoned the Afghanis to their fates. All these images of people falling out of planes of the sky, people scrambling at the airport, this is America's doing because America was responsible for the safety and security. They abandoned Afghanistan overnight, number one. Number two, it's not possible. 3.5 lakh strong Afghan army gets washed away by the Taliban in a matter of a few weeks, and they stroll into Kabul. And this Afghan army was trained, equipped, and financed by the Americans for the past 21 years. Now, I fail to understand what kind of an army which is 350,000 strong, armed and equipped. They had Humvees, they have M4 carbines, they had rocket launchers, they had all the modern equipment and weaponry. But somehow they did not fight. And somehow, I think that there was an understanding that they did not fight.
Oh, absolutely, there was an understanding. And the question, the follow-up to that is, and I want to put that tonight to Douglas Bando from Washington. Douglas, is America not answerable to its own? You have set up a government. I repeat,
20 years
you have set up a government.
Went in and claimed.
No, 1 second, not 20 years. Allow me to complete my question. You have set up a government that gave sanctuary to the Al-Qaeda. You are in bed with the same people who carried out 9/11. It's absurd. As a country, how do you even answer your own conscience? You have started a joint venture with the people who killed thousands of Americans in New York.
Of course, I've criticized the U.S. policy since the very beginning. So I think it's important to recognize that not all Americans have been pleased with what's gone on. The basic problem was the assumption that the United States could show up and remake another society, create a government that Afghans would defend. And that project has failed, but it's not the first. The Iraq invasion was a catastrophe. Frankly, a greater catastrophe in the number of people who died.
Very easy explanation.
And the impacts on the region. So this is not new. The Biden administration was very correct.
No, 1 second, Douglas.
Troops. It was idiotic in how it handled the withdrawal because none of them expected what we saw. This was not planned.
No, Douglas.
The Biden administration did not
Douglas,
want
I need
to have
intervene here.
falling off airplanes. The Biden administration
Douglas.
thought that this fake
Douglas,
government that had been
Douglas, let me intervene.
But it didn't. So you're blaming the wrong
Douglas,
people.
Douglas, let me intervene here.
Blame the Obama administration.
No, Douglas.
Blame the Trump administration. They were all part
Douglas.
This is 20 years of failure, which is
No, Douglas, no. Douglas, can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you. Oh,
Douglas, can you hear me? All right, so let me counter you. I have my very aggressive and very vocal co-panelist, Sohail Seth, who wants to come in right now. But before I go to you, Sohail, this whole business, you've got your Secretary of State, Blinken, who was blinking at the camera yesterday when he said, Afghans, you look out for yourself. Look out for what? You know what? It's not the Afghans. It's the world that is asking you. You are bringing back people who cut the thumbs of women if they wear nail polish. Women are whipped. Women are going to be whipped with 1.5 meter metal and leather whips.
Well, if you want, you can send
You
troops
are
in. The US
today the
is
world's
the
most
reason they were
failed
not in
democracy.
power.
One second.
They were
One second.
power
And
when
the question is
US
this.
went in
The question is,
2001.
I want to,
But
no,
this
one
is
second.
again,
One
if
second.
you'd like
One
to
second,
take over
Douglas.
the
Douglas, my
situation,
one
you
line,
should
my one line.
cooperate.
I'm very involved in this, but you need to listen to me. See, Douglas.
Well, I am,
see,
and that's why
Douglas.
I'm responding.
The world will not forgive you anymore. You lied to enter Iraq. You lied, and
Yes,
Tony Blair went along with
absolutely.
your lie on
Yeah.
weapons of mass
And some of
destruction.
us oppose that.
No.
So please don't
One
place that
second.
on me.
You.
George W. Bush being a war criminal.
One second.
People
No.
stop publishing
America is
me because
answerable
I
to the
made
world,
these
Douglas.
arguments.
No, you may make the arguments, but I'm not saying you're the villain here, but your country is. Sohail wants to respond to you. Sohail, say it.
With due respect to Douglas and Danny, America has shown up for what it is. A hypocritical, divided, self-serving, selfish nation. So don't pretend to be the policeman of the world when you're actually a bunch of Keystone cops. A, B. You talk about democracy. You talk about freedom. You talk about your constitution. You have left an entire nation in tatters. You have destroyed a culture. You have asked people to run for their lives from their own motherland, and you have done nothing. You have taken over Kabul airport. You prevented civilian flights because, again, the self-serving American dream wants Americans to fly out first, leaving Afghans at peril. Arnab, you made a very important assumption and point in the beginning. The hypocrisy doesn't only belong to the United States. The hypocrisy belongs to people in India. People who now say, oh, the Taliban has taken over, people must be allowed to choose their governments. Did any Afghan choose the Taliban? The Taliban are plunderers and looters and mercenaries. Do you want a plunderer and looter and a mercenary? And what role model is Joe Biden? What role model? When Afghanistan is burning, is being torn to shreds, that man, with his level of weapons of mass stupidity, has parked himself at Camp David. Is this what you talk about, global leadership? America has shown up itself for what it is, a sham democracy claiming to free the world. You can't free even a bird from a cage. That's how incompetent the United States is. You fought for 20 years. You tried to muscle your way into a culture. You tried to. You wanted McDonald's. 1 minute,
They fought
Douglas.
for 20 years, and
Douglas,
I didn't
that they won't allow the U.S. to show up and remake their society. So don't blame this all on the U.S.
No, you showed up. You showed up
The
because you wanted
Taliban have showed
revenge.
that the
You
Afghans
didn't
have
show up
agency.
because you wanted
The
democracy.
Afghans
Who
didn't
invited
want-
you?
They didn't
Douglas,
want what the U.S. created.
Douglas, my friend, George W. Bush wanted revenge. He didn't want democracy. You don't build societies out of revenge. You build them out of love. But you wouldn't know that. Your leadership wouldn't know that. Your constitution wouldn't know that. Because
I'm not sure if your
America
leadership
is
knows
all
it
for
either.
itself.
So again, let's not get a little overly wrought here. How about the Europeans? Now, there are a lot of people involved in this. Guess who's putting troops into the airport? The Germans, the British. This is a very common thing. What we see is a tragic situation, but let's recognize the blame is widely shared here.
No, one second.
That's the point that Arnab Goswami made. He says we aren't without a full share of hypocrites in our country. Our country, some left liberals and pseudos are saying, Afghanistan has chosen democracy, has chosen independence. You had an absolute dolt like Imran Khan saying that, today Afghanistan is free. Free from what? You want women and children to be murdered and brutally whipped? Is that your freedom?
Well, again, if you want, you can put some troops in. I mean, the problem here is the U.S., after 20 years...
No, one second. A question here.
None at all. The American
question
people are
here.
happy to be out. So
A question here. A question here tonight. 1 second. 1 second. You know Douglas. We tell the truth, and we must put the truth in a way that is neither satirical nor indirect. And 1 point to be made tonight. 1 point I want to make tonight. Never forget. You say, please, we're busy. We can't save the world. I'm sorry, the tone and tonality yesterday. Yesterday, the tone and tonality, Saurabh, Sushant, Ravi Batra, and Dr. Sumantra, or Blinken particularly, was, and the rest of the American apologists is, look here, we're really sorry we can't save the world. But who told you to save the world? Who told you? You arrogated upon yourself in order to feed your insane appetite for the arms industry, which you need to be regularly a part of, for your private military contractors who need a job. In order to feed their insatiable appetite, you go about creating conflict. Let's not be hypocrites here. You make money out of conflict. You are a killer nation. You kill people and derive benefit out of conflict. Your economy runs on blood. And then you have the temerity. Ravi Batra, don't worry, I'll come to you. I'll destroy every little last embellishment of an argument that you have left. And then you go around saying, I'm sorry, we can't save the world. I'll tell you just one thing, Ravi. No, it's not a funny matter today. You have no idea how angry people are.
It's unfair.
Remember.
No, it's unfair.
Remember.
It's unfair what you're doing.
Remember the pictures of the Afghan woman. Her name was Zarmina. Remember, Ravi, if you have a heart. You will remember, Saurabh. Zarmina was taken from the back of a pickup truck. And then she was driven into a sports stadium. And they executed her in the field. They executed her by the field. Remember the public hangings. Remember the Buddhist statues of Bamiyan pulverized by the Taliban. Remember the forced marriages. Saurabh, you're there. Let everybody be on tonight. Remember the stoning. Remember the stoning.
Arnab,
and remember one thing, Ravi.
Arnab.
Remember one thing, Ravi. One point. Remember one thing, Ravi. You said you were in Afghanistan to stop that.
No.
You said nobody asked you to. You arrogated upon yourself that right.
Hold on. Arnab, 1 second.
Ravi first and then Saurabh tonight.
Anyone who values freedom and...
First of all, Arnab.
No, who goes first, Saurabh or Ravi?
Anyone... Ravi,
Arnab.
Ravi, can I?
Let Ravi go first, Saurabh. Let Ravi go first. Let Ravi go first. He answers the question, then I come back. Yes.
Arnab, first and foremost, we did not go to Afghanistan. Afghanistan came to America on 9/11. Okay? We were in hot pursuit
rubbish.
Of Osama.
Absolute rubbish.
We were in
absolute 100% rubbish. You went to Afghanistan. Please don't try and find a moral argument here. No, I'm sorry, but excuse me, you can't find a moral argument here.
Excuse me. No. Hold on a second. You can't monopolize the answer as well as a question. So, Afghanistan came to us in the form of Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. So we were in hot pursuit, and our mission was counter-terrorism. And India, which suffers from terrorism, I am surprised at the level of acrimony I'm hearing from your panelists. India is part of the American Quad with Japan and Australia to keep navigation.
It's not the American Quad, first of all, Ravi, correct yourself. Who told you it's the American Quad? Stop talking with that self-serving righteousness. It is not the American Quad. If you call it an American Quad, I'll call it an Indian Quad. They're equal members of the Quad. You are as dependent on us, please. You have no right to call it an American Quad. You're completely dependent on us in this region. Please, control your use of language. It is not the American Quad. And never will be.
I welcome your partnership. I welcome your partnership, but you cannot take over the Afghanistan issue as the way you're doing it. Okay? The fact that America tried
I can do what I want.
Trying to be
and I will.
In nation building, okay? In nation building, maybe we shouldn't be so generous because obviously it did not take. If I take a palm tree from Miami and put it into the Arctic, it will not take.
I'm just asking you, Ravi. I'm just asking you. I'm asking you, Ravi, where is Kamala Harris today? Why is Amnesty quiet today? Where is Blinken on human rights today? What about the women of Afghanistan today? Where is Joe Biden's Gender Policy Council today? Where is the campaign by Human Rights Watch today? The same America Human Rights Watch which condemns India for attacks on religious minorities in 2017. Where are the rest of them today? Please tell me. And my question tonight, my question is not all this.
Okay.
My question is more basic. You're giving me a legally worded response.
No,
Ravi, I reject it. I must give you my question.
I support the Biden surge.
No.
I support the Biden surge because what is occurring is a travesty. What is occurring is horror. It rips your heart apart to see people flying, getting on a plane and falling off a plane. It's horrible, okay? It reminds me of the pictures of the partition in 1947 with people on top of trains going both ways. This is horrible. It shows human...
One second, I'll tell you.
Okay?
I'll tell you. No, 1 second. You must understand the world has changed, first of all. Saurabh is responding here. I'll just say one thing before I come to you, Saurabh. Viewers, my view is very clear. America cannot pass the buck. It has failed. It is a failed country.
Absolutely.
It is an absconder. I call America an absconding nation. It is the cause of the Afghanistan mess and not the victim.
It is not our finest hour. It is not our finest hour because... But we will fix this.
Anybody who values freedom and democracy in the world, our head, we should feel ashamed. Ravi, anybody who values freedom and democracy in the world should feel ashamed. You see the plight of women and children in Afghanistan, that these savages called Taliban have been allowed. And you can well imagine the dangers that they pose to democracies like the US and India. You're not realizing the dangers. Anybody who today says or condones them is living away from reality. You're not realizing the dangers that this will pose to the world as a whole. My heart goes out to the women and children. And anybody who values freedom and democracy in the world should stand up for Afghan people. Today, the world must stand up. And I must say that and you are a good lawyer, but you should speak out today and say that the world must stand up for Afghan people, and the paradigm has changed. If America cannot save them,
I am sure, and I am saying
Nations should step in.
That today the Pandora's box.
It has come out. It is a fight for democracy.
No.
To live up to its commitment.
Arnab,
at the end of the day, the world, this generation will not pardon anybody who let the Afghan people and the women and children at the whims and fancies of these savages called Taliban. We have to fight them, and anybody who advocates any kind of talks and negotiation with them, I should sue them. I would tell them they are the culprits of democracy.
A point here. I want Sushant also to come in. 1 second. I'd like Sushant to come in. I'd like Dr. Sumantra Maitra to come in. I want all the voices in at this point. Viewers,
please,
Sushant, as I bring you into the debate. Just 1 minute.
That the Pandora's box.
Just 1 minute. Who's coming in? I'd like 1 second. Major Danny, can I get Major Danny? You want to come in? Can I let Sushant Sareen, who's not spoken, and Dr. Sumantra Maitra, who's not spoken, have a word in, and then I'll come back to you. Is that all right, please? Yes, please, Sushant.
So, Arnab, I'll just make 2-3 quick points. One thing on which I want to join issue is that I think Douglas
saying it was about democracy when it wasn't. But that doesn't mean that we should stay forever.
No, 1 second. What do you say, Major Danny? Yes.
What I'm saying is that I am ashamed. I'm the American on this panel. I think the only one who did kill people in Afghanistan. And of that, I am ashamed. But more ashamed than that, am I, that we said it was about democracy and human rights and nation building. And you're correct. A lot of the panelists are correct. That is a massive hypocrisy. It is a shame. Because it wasn't about that. It was about George W. Bush's vengeance. And then it was built into a nation building mission. But the thing that I disagree about, that I'm hearing from so much of the panel, is this. There seems to be the tone that America shouldn't have the temerity, and I agree, to invite themselves and say that they're going to change the world, and then lie about it and say that that's what it is when it's really not. It's about power. It's about money. It's about the war industry. It's about the blood money that fueled the thing that I did, that I was criminally complicit in. But now it seems like so many people on the panel are saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that now that we have tried that, which you're saying we shouldn't have, we have to stay forever. We have to continue to be one more factor in the violence in Afghanistan. And I want to know when the end state is. When do we go?
No, 1 second.
Yes, we are Keystone Cops. We are Keystone Cops. We couldn't win.
Major Danny.
We couldn't win.
Okay, so Major Danny, let me respond to you. Major Danny, can I respond to you, and I get Sushant in to respond to you actually. I'll just make a very brief intervention, and then I'm handing it over to Sushant, who's quite experienced in this matter. First of all, I appreciate your honesty in saying that yes, you were part of a mission. You killed people? Yes, you did. Did you do it for democracy? No. Did you do it to save the women and for gender justice in Afghanistan? No.
No.
Did you do it for peace? No. Did you do it to push America's geostrategic objectives? Yes. Did your country lie to the entire world? And is that mask off today as you exit? Yes. Is the truth about America clear to the world? It has been for a while. But today, Danny, the mask is off. The perpetual moral high ground that you take, your country takes along with your partners in the global media is off. You lecture the rest of the world about democracy. You criticize everyone's policy. You call everyone depraved. I'm sorry to say this to you. If there is one country which is depraved in its hypocrisy, it's the United States of America today. I don't think any American should be sleeping tonight. Danny, let me tell you that. If you see those pictures of the Afghans
I didn't sleep
holding
last
on to
night.
the wheels of your military plane. No. If you see the pictures of the Afghans holding on to the wheels, clutching onto the wheels of the military plane, I want to show the pictures, Danny, tonight. I don't think any American should sleep well tonight. They should see the pictures and ask themselves, why did they sit on the belly of the plane? What did we do to these people that made them so desperate? And why did the plane take off? Why could we not wait? How much will America fall? You cannot say it is none of our business. We are not here to save you. You said you were there as saviors. Stop pretending you are the saviors. You are not. You are another country which is plundering and looting and gaining geostrategic ground. You are no different from the people you claim to depose. You are no different from a Saddam Hussein or a Gaddafi or a Ziaul Haq. Ziaul Haq was made by you. It's frightful today that you're even questioning the Pakistanis. India can question the Pakistanis, Danny. America cannot. You created these monsters. And that's why today's images are very stark. Sushant, over to you. Sushant Sareen on the debate, responding to Major Danny.
No, I don't think I have anything to respond to Major Danny. I can understand he's been a soldier. He's fought out there. And I'm sure he's fought with a lot of honor. And the U.S. Army did a fabulous job. And let's face it, 20 years, the U.S. recreated a new country. I think it's shameful the way they walked out. That they were planning to walk out has been on the board for a very long time. The writing on the wall was very clear. But the way they have done it, the way they've left everything in the lurch, the way they destroyed confidence, that as Gaurav Arya was saying, that, the army simply melted away, disintegrated, the Afghan army, the way they pulled out the support from these guys, could they not have done this better? That is point number one. Secondly, Arnab, in this whole
Dr.
debate
Sumantra
today,
Maitra.
I haven't heard one word being mentioned, which was the mother of all problems in Afghanistan, which is the P word, which is Pakistan. The Americans have known for 20 years how the Pakistanis have been shafting them. They know that they've been had by the Pakistanis. President after president, general after general has known it. And yet, not a damn thing they have done to them. When Biden was the vice president, would tell the Afghans that, Pakistan is 50 times more important than you are for us. So when that important country, and every general who went to Pakistan used to do apple polishing out there that, yes, you are doing a fabulous job for us. Yes, you are doing great. We acknowledge your sacrifices. And what was the sacrifices? They were getting American soldiers killed. And I don't hear a damn thing against the Pakistanis who shafted them. That's the point number two. Point number three is the failure was military at one level, but it was political also. You talk about democracy. The way the Americans installed a non-entity like Ashraf Ghani as president, despite knowing that he has no public following, despite knowing that it was an election that even Ziaul Haq would be ashamed to rig, in the way the Americans rigged 2 elections for Ashraf Ghani. Why did they do this? If it was democracy they were bringing, why did they not let the integrity of the vote operate? You would have had a different president. You would have had somebody who was genuinely elected by the people of Afghanistan. So you didn't even bring democracy in the way you should have brought it. And then the biggest indictment of America is that having, brought up people, given them faith, taught them about gender rights, taught them about human rights, given them all that spiel, you junked them. You junked them just like that.
No,
do you live with yourself after that?
No.
I can
One second.
understand.
You
I can
give up.
understand a superpower.
You give up.
Having its compulsions. Can I just finish? I kept quiet 37 minutes. If you just let me finish, otherwise I'll keep quiet. Go ahead. But one final point, Arnab.
No, carry on.
I think it was Douglas who was saying that if India is so concerned, why doesn't India go? And my answer to him is that India is not going to go out there to clean your potty for you. There was a time when India wanted to be involved, when India was willing to do a lot of things. And at that point of time, because the Americans wanted to suck up to the Pakistanis, because they thought that this will be taken amiss by the Pakistanis, they prevented us from doing a lot more that we could have done. Despite that, for a country like India, which is not a very to have put in $3.5 billion, built infrastructure in Afghanistan, has earned the appreciation of the Afghans. I think that counts for something. So if we are outraging today, the amount of scholarships we gave, the amount of assistance we gave was second to none. So for people to say, why didn't we send our soldiers? I just will tell them, please watch a damn atlas, learn to read a map, and ask us how we could have provisioned our troops. Who had the supply lines running? What did we have? We didn't have supply lines. So,
Sushant.
So don't tell us that why do you not send your soldiers? We did what we could do. And we are not going to go and clean your potty for you.
So we are a little short. I actually want to respond in equal length and measure as you've intervened right there, but I have little time. I'm going to Sumantra Maitra. One intervention, Dr. Maitra, before I come in is that the submission of the world is that, you see, America is nothing but a war machine. America never even got into the Second World War till it had an economic reason and Ford could have benefited from the business. America is a business war machine. And you should, for you, democracy, human rights, gender justice, all of these things are just lies and instruments which you effectively use through certain institutions. And what you need to understand today, what America needs to understand today, is that this global grandstanding has come to an end. And it also comes to an end, Dr. Maitra, at a particularly weak time in American history. You see, America is a country on the decline. But what has happened in Kabul accelerates that decline.
First of all, thank you for having me. And I don't disagree with you. I actually think everything that you said today is right. And I just want to clarify a couple of more things. It's good that you mentioned the Second World War. The way the Second World War was fought is very different than the way American generals kind of decided to fight in Afghanistan. And that is something which people don't mention often, right? The Second World War, when the Russians went to Grozny in Chechnya, for example, they were not flying LGBT flags, right? When the Sri Lankans went in Jaffna, they were not doing, gender rights and women's rights and all that. They were focusing on counterinsurgency. Americans didn't do that. I think one of the things that people need to kind of mention is, especially you, because you're pointing these things out, is if the focus would have been on counterinsurgency and dealing with the Taliban, things would have been a lot different and better. But they focused on a lot of other things. And now, obviously, that they kind of like botched up the entire evacuation campaign and planning. So I think that's a very important point that you mentioned. And I sort of agree with Sushant and you that, the evacuation and the planning was absolutely horrible.
Dr. Maitra, just 40 seconds left. I agree with you as well. My limited point which I was making there was when India went to Sri Lanka, we went after the LTTE. We were very clear, right?
That's right.
Problem in America is that
you mix
journalism with it. Where are those Pulitzer Prize-winning portals now? Videos of an American girl, of an Afghan girl screaming after a suicide bomb attack in Kabul. There were all these front pages of a 12-year-old girl. Most famous refugee put on the picture, cover story of Nat Geo. You said you want to save Afghanistan. You could have just said, we are on a military mission to take on the Al-Qaeda in and out, but you didn't.
I think that's absolutely right. First of all, I'm not disputing anything that you said. I I live here and I understand the sentiment that, after 20 years of losing, look, the average American soldiers, they are not at fault. Right? They gave their everything. So I think it's harsh to blame the American bobbies, the American soldiers. I think it's more important to understand that the leadership of the militaries who might be considered at fault, because their planning was responsible for everything that happened. I mean, it's not the average guy who's in North Carolina, patriotic and going to war for his country. They are not at fault.
Their lies, they misled everybody.
That's right.
They misled everybody. They misrepresented what was happening on the ground, and they completely
Absolutely. I don't disagree
the
with anything
political
of that.
leadership for a ride. It was a complete leadership failure of the military. Forget about the politicians.
9/11 is why we've ended up in Afghanistan.
Well, I think there are a lot of lessons.
Afghanistan came to America.
There are a lot of lessons here, and I think Ravi, I'd only say one thing. As a media person, what frightens me? What frightens me is, the line of organizations like the BBC and CNN. They don't even call Taliban terrorists. They call them fighters. There's no campaign here. In fact, complete apologists here for the Taliban. They've almost forgotten what the Taliban has done.
I agree.
And this grandstanding was a mess. And I think there are lots of lessons there. I will take this up again. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking to you.